Call to order, Bedford Township Planning Commission, regular meeting, April 24, 2019. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Steffen, can you take the roll?
Ms. Tinberry.
Here.
Mr. Zabik.
Here.
Mr. Jenkins.
Here.
Mr. Garbrick.
Here.
Steffen is present. Mr. Fritz.
Here.
Chairman Anger.
Here. Next, if there's no additions, I will entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Next, we move on to the approval of the minutes of the April 10th meeting, 2019. For anyone that was here, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Next, we'll move on to public comment. This is for anybody that would like to speak on anything that they would like to speak on. Seeing that we have none, we will move on to new business. First is a request for a recommendation for final preliminary plat approval for Waterford Plat 3 on a portion of parcel number 5802020147330, 2798 West Dean Road between Seacourt and Douglas Roads. Karen, can you give us some background?
Yes, again, the request is for Waterford Plat 3 final preliminary plat approval. Decker Building Company is the developer. The engineer is ESA from Toledo, Ohio. Property is currently RT 2-family residential zoned and is located on Dean Road west of Douglas. This request is for final preliminary plat approval consisting of 9 additional lots with 8 additional homes for Waterford Plat 3, a single-family residential development in an RT 2-family residential zoning district. Plat 3 will complete the proposed Waterford subdivision development with a cul-de-sac design. The subject parcel intended to accommodate Plat 3 consists of approximately 5.149 acres and has frontage on Dean Road and contains an existing home. Tentative preliminary plat approval was granted by the Township Board on July 17, 2018. While the property is RT 2-family residential zone, single-family residential development is permitted by ordinance. When one-family detached dwellings are erected within an RT 2-family residential zoning district, the standard of the schedule of regulations applicable to the R3 one-family zoning district shall apply as minimum standards. The Monroe County Road Commission has approved the final preliminary plat on April 17, 2019. The Monroe County Drain Commission approved the final preliminary plat on March 14, 2019. Manick & Smith Group has approved the final preliminary plat on 4/17, 2019. MDEQ conducted a Level 3 wetland identification review of approximately 8 acres of the property, determining approximately 1.85 acres of wetlands are regulated by the MDEQ. The Bedford Township Fire Department has approved the final preliminary plat on March 12, 2019. In summary, the following should be considered a final preliminary plat. Approval is recommended. Any and all issues outlined in the Monroe County Road Commission, Monroe County Drain Commission, the Manick & Smith Group, and the Bedford Township Fire Department letters shall be addressed prior to final plat approval. And the 20-foot wide construction drive off Dean Road shall be utilized for all construction traffic and shall not be removed until after all final construction has been completed. I would also like to add that the deed restrictions for Plat 3 be submitted to the Township Attorney for a review and approval.
Thank you, Karen. Do we have a representative for Waterford?
Bill Ducker, Jr., 2798 Dean Road.
Thank you. Anything you'd like to add, or?
Just to answer any questions, I think Karen did a good outline.
I don't have any questions, but this has been a long time coming. And a lot of people, I'm surprised, not surprised, I'm happy to see that we have, although I like to have the public come to meetings, I'm happy to see that there aren't any for this one. So I just want to add, I knew these 2 young men before they were white-haired, so just wanted to put that.
Would you
put
guys
that
like
in
to make a
minutes.
comment?
Now I have no. No, Nancy, it's been 23 years, from start to now, so.
Yeah,
It's been a,
amazing.
Looks great.
yeah, it's been a,
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
If I may add, we also did have some comments from residents of the community, and they actually are in favor of the cul-de-sac design rather than the second connection.
Thank you, Karen. I personally like the layout. I see that you're not going to be in the wetlands at all, the way it's laid out, so that's nice to know, too. So, if there's no other questions or comments, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend the final plat approval for Waterford Plat 3 on a portion of parcel number 5802020147030. Contingent on that all issues outlined in the Monroe County Road Commission, Monroe County Drain Commission, Manica Smith Group, Bedford Township Fire Department shall be addressed prior to the final approval. The 20-foot wide construction drive off Dean Road will be utilized for all construction traffic, not removed until all the construction has been completed, and then the deed restrictions be submitted to the township for review.
All right, can you take the roll, Mr. Steffen?
Stefan votes yes. Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Ms. Tinnevery?
Yes,
Mr. Zybeck?
Yes.
Mr. Garbrick?
Yes.
Mr. Fritz?
Yes.
Chairman Anger?
Yes, motion carried. Next, we will move on to a request for a sign waiver for Fire Creek Plaza LLC on parcel number 5802-034-00360, otherwise known as 7327 Lewis Avenue. Karen, can you give us background on this?
Yes, the applicant is Fire Creek Plaza. The sign company is True Aerial Signs out of Toledo, Ohio. The owner of the property is Rami Edie, and the current zoning is C1 Local Commercial. The applicant is seeking to replace the existing monument sign located at Fire Creek Plaza, 7327 Lewis Avenue, Temperance, Michigan. Per section 400.1922.7, multiple unit buildings, one monument sign of up to 50 square feet in area and 7 feet in height is permitted. Also, the freestanding sign shall identify the name of the plaza, mall, development, and/or building, and the address of the lot or parcel, with not more than 75% of the sign used to identify the names of the individual occupants of the units contained in the multi-unit building. The applicant has submitted 2 different renderings, as it has been indicated a possibility to include an LED message board. Option 1 is to install a 73.5 square foot monument sign with an overall height of 11 feet to include the property address, name of the plaza, and each individual occupant. While the proposed signage includes the required identification by ordinance, a 4-foot height waiver and a 23.5 square foot area waiver is required. Option 2 is to install a 73.5 square foot monument sign with an overall height of 11 feet to include the property address, name of the plaza, each individual occupant, and an LED message board. Per section 400.1922.0 states no flashing, moving, oscillating, or intermittent type of illuminated sign or display shall be permitted in any zoning district. Therefore, the Planning Commission shall determine how often the message can change, so not to create a safety issue by distracting passing traffic. While the proposed signage includes the required identification by ordinance, a 4-foot height waiver, a 23.5 square foot area waiver is required, and to allow the LED message board. The applicant has indicated the proposed sign location will be located outside of the road right-of-way and will not be within the corner clearance. The applicant has indicated the proposed sign location will be, I'm repeating myself there, corner clearance location. Should the request be considered, the following waivers are required. Without an LED message board, a 4-foot height waiver, a 23.5 square foot area waiver. With the LED message board, a 4-foot height waiver, a 23 0.5 square foot area waiver and an approval to allow an LED message board. The following shall be considered for inclusion in any motion to approve. All required permits shall be obtained from Bedford Township. The applicant shall continue to maintain the entire perimeter landscaped area of the base, no less than 2 feet wide, growing and in healthy condition. The sign is to be located outside of the road right-of-way, and the sign is to be located outside both the existing ingress and egress corner clearance. At your seat tonight, we did obtain a copy of the permit for the sign that is there now. The sign is actually 55 inches tall, so they came in where a 7-foot tall sign was permitted by ordinance. They actually came in and with a 4-foot, 7-inch tall sign. This is the sign that we went and took a picture of today, and it does match the permit application that was submitted by the applicant at that time, and a permit was issued. So they do have a decreased height than what was permitted at that time. The sign is smaller. When we take a look in comparison to the signs that we have, one that was mentioned to us by the applicant was the sign at Bedford Shops on the northeast corner of Smith and Lewis Avenue. That sign came in for a variance for an LED message board. However, it did not require a height waiver. That sign is 7 feet in height with the LED message board. Across the street where the Secretary of State is located, that is a prior legal nonconforming sign. Once a change is made to that sign, they will then enter into the 7-year waiver that we would grant them 7 years to bring that sign into compliance, or they can bring it into compliance at the time. We would no longer issue any permits to make changes to the inserts without a signed waiver that they will bring that sign into compliance. Same with the sign on the northeast corner, Bedford Plaza. That sign as well is non-complying. They were permitted to put those signs up prior to our ordinance going into effect that limited the heights to 7 feet. So when those changes are made, they will be grandfathered in for 7 years and then have to bring those signs into compliance with the next change they make. I do believe the one Bedford Plaza is in the process right now where they will have to bring that sign into compliance.
Thank you, Karen. Is there a representative for the sign? If you could just state your name and address for the record?
Robert Ruiz, 6725 West Central Avenue, Toledo, Ohio.
Thank you. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
So, just so that we're clear, we would prefer to have the cabinet signage. We're asking for the variance on the height and the width. We have a number of tenants there that are requesting representation out by the roads to better advertise their businesses. The LED was just a second option if the cabinet sign didn't meet your approval. There is a slight grade down to the property from the road, and so we felt that there would be a good offset with the 4 foot in order to have proper representation had it been at street level. This is strictly just to promote the tenants within the plaza. It's a cost that we as the landlords are taking on as far as the structure, and then each tenant would be paying for their panel. We have participation from every tenant there. And so we're just asking if we could get your blessing in giving our tenants accurate representation along a very busy corridor where cars are going 45 or 50 miles an hour. So that's...
Thank you. Yes, Joe?
I got a question, maybe this to you, Karen. When this says it's off the right-of-way and stuff, if they go with this sign, does it hurt us at all with any traffic or anything?
As long as they remain outside of the road right-of-way and out of the corner clearance from where the ingress egress, there are 2 ingress egress locations on this side. As long as they remain out of those clearances, the sign should not
Affect
be a visual
anybody?
clearance
Okay.
issue.
Thank you.
And if I may, our intent is obviously to replace the signage exactly where the current one is, which I believe is just over 30 feet off the street.
Yes, Mr. Avery?
I'm sorry, what connection do you have with the?
I'm vice president of ED
Okay,
Properties.
I didn't see your name on here. I mean, I thought you were valid, but I
Yeah,
just
thank you.
needed to No, I'm one of those need-to-know people. Okay, so I did take a look at this, and I understand what you're saying about the grade and the one end of the sign. So is this 7 or 11 feet going to be from, are you going to level that off, or you're leaving that,
No, ma'am, we're leaving all the
the
existing.
valley like that's in there?
Correct.
I understand for drainage, but, so so it'll be 11 feet from this highest point then?
It'll be 11 feet from the base of the current sign.
I know, but the base goes, the ground goes down, oh, from the base, okay, so we're getting about the gap in between the base and the, okay, gotcha. And then you said you prefer the
Option 1, the cabinet sign.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, good, because that's what I thought, I don't see on the LED message board where it looks like just a picture of food, it doesn't, how could you get all the names on there, plus have that, and I think, like you said, the most important thing is having the names so that you don't have to be looking at the building while you're driving by. I think this is an excellent idea to get those names out there. So, yeah, I'm in favor of the option 1.
Yes, Mr. Frederick?
In going through this review today, I went back to the sign ordinance. The Planning Commission has the right to grant sign waivers that meet certain criteria, and I'm not sure this meets that criteria. But I'm looking at the sign, the one you're proposing. The ED Properties portion at the bottom is 3 feet. And, I understand his desire to promote his property company, but if you eliminate that, you're only asking for a 1-foot waiver. He gets top billing.
Well, this is just a common pattern that we've had approved in Perrysburg and in Lido, and if ED Properties is an issue, then we can have that removed. Thank
I
you.
mean, I would be willing to consider 1 foot, but not 4.
Okay. I don't think we would have an issue with that.
Could you help me out, Dennis, and explain? I don't understand about how the sign ordinance that you're speaking of.
The sign ordinance, as written, grants the Planning Commission, not the Board of Zoning Appeals, but the Planning Commission, the right to grant sign waivers. And we've routinely done that without regard to that section of the ordinance on what criteria we use to grant that sign waiver. So I'm just saying in the future, maybe we want to consider that.
Okay, so, but we are permitted to grant this waiver that he's asking for. It's just that you would prefer it to be, okay,
Right, yeah.
okay, I gotcha.
Mr. Stepp, did you have?
Well, a question, I know it had to do, was in a ratio with the size of the building and the amount of tenants too. How many tenants, did I count 8, is that correct? Tenants or units in that part of that structure?
There are 10.
10.
10. Right. I'm sorry, 8. I apologize. There are 8.
Is there any historical findings on that as far as the ratio to the size of the building and the size of the sign in granting these waivers to the township?
Is there a formula? No.
Is there a formula?
No.
No, there is not. And we have to remember that while a particular tenant may, at this point, utilize 2 or 3 of the units, they have the potential for 8, because units, as tenants come and go, sometimes that's why the sign would be designed to handle all of the units and tenants. Yeah, they can allow certain areas for maybe their anchor tenants to utilize 2 slots of the insert rather than just 1.
Correct. A tenant might occupy 2
So-
of the
Correct.
units themselves, maybe
Correct.
take up 2 spaces in the sign, that I would
Correct.
imagine.
And to clarify, there are 10 units in this plaza, but because of combined units for the 2 restaurants, there are 8 leasable areas.
Understood.
I have to agree with Dennis Jenkins. I don't have a problem with this sign, but not at 10 and a half feet tall, when I believe that the ED property's 36-inch part of the measurement, I would be in favor of.
What would that take it down to if you took ED property off? What's the dimension on the bottom of that?
Well, that's 36
Pardon?
that's 36 inches.
36?
And that's mainly to increase the height to make up for the slope difference. The ED Properties logo and name, again, is not necessary. The brick was in order to allow us that increased height. So it can remain blank, but our goal was to have that 36 inches of brick there. So
Do we know-
it's
do we-
decorative.
Do we know what that slope is at all? Is there any information on that?
From what I can see on my phone here, it looks like it's actually higher than the road,
At,
the sign. There's, on the grass itself, there's maybe a 6-inch drop in the back of it, but the grass area is higher than the road itself.
we felt that there was a slope to that area, and so, again,
I'm not going by
Yeah.
actual measurements, I'm just going by what it appears on the Google Maps road driving thing.
Well, I mean, there is a slope, both to the road and a swale off the road for the drainage. I think it's required to keep the water off the road, but if you see the light and they want it to be lit for night, I'm just thinking, when I was out there, it does set pretty low to the ground. When I first read the request for variance, I thought, man, that's pretty high up, but this is very low, and I see they're moving well, actually, it says 7169, and on the current one, it shows the addresses of all the different businesses in there, 7309 through 27. And I'm not opposed to what Dennis said, but I agree that my whole purpose in wanting to see this is so that you can see the names of the establishments from, as you're driving down the road and not have to turn and look at the building. When I found out that Sidelines had a new facility in there through the township board, I kept saying where. I went to the fire station, maybe 2-3 times, and I kept saying, where is it? I thought it was a new facility. I had no idea it was that Jimmy's had gone and now they had a smokehouse or something in there. My point is, I would be able to recognize it if it were on the sign at the road, and I'm not sure if the sign was only, let's see, what would that be? If you take the 3 feet off, 3 feet off is 7 feet, or 3 feet off is,
7.6,
it would be 7 feet at its
Remaining.
highest,
yep.
which I'm not good at measurements,
I think there might be a little misunderstanding, because from what I'm hearing is they're willing to take the ED Properties sign off, but keep the base, right?
Correct.
36-inch base, so we're still talking about 11 feet.
right.
Yes, Mr.
I guess, I'm thinking of going back to my first question, who does it affect? If it's not affecting traffic and it's everything else, I think it's in the best interest of those businesses there to see it. I don't know how far that goes down, Nancy, how much a dip or Dennis there, but I'd like it to be where they can see it, and if there's, if you put all this money and you do it, and your tenants go, you know what, that doesn't help us one iota, and then the other side of it, what does it hurt, is my deal, so I don't know if it's too high, Dennis, or not. I didn't look at it.
The point I was trying to make is we adopted this sign ordinance, and we've been granting sign waivers without considering the criteria. So what's being heard is the ordinance itself.
Correct, and I think that needs to be changed, and I think all of us do. But I guess my opinion is if it doesn't hurt anybody on any of these signs out there in businesses, they're here to make money. I don't know if this does, I'm not arguing that, maybe it's too high, but I just think if it's in the middle, and maybe there's something we can all work with here.
I think the original intention of the ordinance is to not turn into a sign-riddled area where all you see is signs every
Correct.
where you look. So I understand the ordinance at the same time.
You got a complex of 8 there instead of 2, and it just, if you had a complex of 2 with the same size sign, your name's going to be a lot bigger.
Yep.
And I think that should be taken into consideration too, for the most part, of the amount of tenants and the individual signage. They're roughly getting, let's see, 7, 3.5, about 4 square foot apiece, if my math is correct. And that, it would be dependent on, how many units are in a typical structure like that. So I don't think it's terribly out of whack in my eyes.
If you look at the picture of the current sign, in the background is the Bedford Plaza, which is where the Secretary of State, that sign's like 30 feet in the air. That's ugly, and it's huge, and it's got this big, you could drive through the 2 poles, that are off the ground. That's ugly, that's terrible.
And it does not comply, it's a prior legal non-conforming
I get that.
sign. So when they come in to make any changes to that sign, then they would have to enter into that 7-year grace period.
But if they never come in to make changes, then that ugly sign stays there, and
That is correct.
Kim, was that before sign permit? Did we not have sign permits?
We had sign permits, but the ordinance that required the maximum height for that zoning district at 7 feet was not in effect at that time. If I have what the criteria is, if anyone is interested, I can read that. If not, we can move on.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Zybek?
Karen, correct, or Marty, either of you, correct me if I'm wrong. I was involved when we were setting up this monument sign ordinance, and I believe, I remember that the whole idea was when you're seated in your automobile and you're looking for an address or a business, you want to look directly in sight line, not have to do this. So, like McDonald's, for example, on Stearns and Secor, obviously everybody knows that logo. They don't even have to put their name on it. But the point is, you have to literally duck down to look up. So I think this far exceeds that philosophy.
We'll say option 1 seems more practical than option 2, because we're getting into 2 issues with option number 2. So,
oops, sorry.
option number 1, cabinet style, would be my preference anyway.
I have to say I'm torn because I think 11 feet is excessive for the most part, but I'm also in the same mind of set of Joe. If there's no harm, what difference does it make? But I understand also we were trying to keep the community to look a certain way. So I came in here not knowing, and I still don't know.
Well, if we only allow a 1-foot variance, is that what you suggested? Dan?
No,
I'm sorry,
it's going to be 4.
a 4-foot variance? So that would bring it down to 7 feet, and then if there's 12 inches for the Fire Creek Plaza, that's 1 foot, and, let's see, the 6 inches at the bottom and the 6 inches at the top, that's another foot. So that would be 5 feet for the, well, I guess it's not equal, though, because Sidelines and Red Star, do they pay more, they get a bigger billing, or?
There are anchor tenants, so yeah, we like to highlight.
Oh, yeah,
those.
anchor,
Yeah.
that's a good word. I mean, so what would that put these, let's see, 5,
I guess I'd like to see it where somebody could read the site and know it, not be a distraction worse for somebody trying to read it. And I don't know how, if with Dennis' proposal, if that works that way, I would have an issue with it, but I'd like him to be able to read who the tenant is. You know, if there was 12 tenants in there, it'd be a different, you know what I mean? Because that doesn't help anybody. It don't help Mr. Edie putting the money in, it helps the people. You're in business, you want people to know you're there. Strip malls are different than standalones, you know, that you got to do it. Is that something you guys would be interested in, I guess?
What's that?
If it was brought down?
Our main thing is we're highlighting is representation, and we have to keep everything proportionate. So, you know, we're kind of at your mercy as far as what you guys feel is best. But through our studies, through what we've done, and we operate 40-plus shopping centers, this is effective representation for this size plaza. It's consistent with what we've done in other properties. We have a similar property in Perrysburg across from Levis Commons where this also, the exact same design was put in. So we just feel that given the amount of tenants, given the traffic, the speed of the traffic on the road, that this gives enough size for everybody who operates a business there to have their business name read clearly
Yeah.
as they drive by.
Let me throw this up. I don't even know if it's Marty question. What if it wasn't the height and we gave them a little wider? Is that something, Dennis, too, that is out of our proportion? So they could see the names. The only thing I'm concerned about is the names of the business. Is the 11-foot bother you more than the width, or is it all?
Make any difference?
The Edie properties down at the bottom, that would be a sign that would be hard on the brick.
Correct.
Yeah, that's not a sign like above the backlit
No.
LED sign at all.
No.
It might be some floodlights on there.
It's like a very hardened styrofoam
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is
so that,
liquid nailed onto the brick.
Yeah, whatever you guys want.
I'm sorry, Dennis, I didn't hear what you said about Joe's idea that it would be wider.
So it doesn't make any difference.
Oh, it doesn't make any difference.
I thought maybe the height bothered with the cars or something, but, you know, it'd be easy if there was 4 tenants there, or 3. You could have a great big, their name could be, you know.
I'm just thinking of the other previous signs that we have granted, for instance, the one next to Cholinos, that is a 7-foot high sign with an LED message board, and they have 11 tenants.
You got a what?
I think they have 11 units, just as an example. And so it's a kind of precedence that we're setting type of thing too. But I guess every situation we take into account, you know, this is a higher speed road, 5 lanes versus downtown Temperance where it's 2 lane at 25 miles an hour, so.
And we are
I thought
talking
you said
LED.
Cholinos.
I was talking about the other sign, that's 7 foot next to Cholinos,
Yeah,
the strip mall there.
Bedford Shops.
no, I get that, but that's still Lewis Avenue. I thought you said downtown Temperance.
I'm just using downtown Temperance as an example. We would maybe make those signs, you know, more strict in our
Okay.
variances that we
Yeah.
would grant in downtown Temperance because you're going slower and it's
Okay,
a
gotcha.
3-lane road versus, or 2-lane road versus the 5-lane road.
Gotcha.
But they didn't, the Bedford Shops didn't ask for a height waiver, so. there's that too.
Because they were meeting the 7. Do you know, Karen, across the street, the Bedford or auto wash there? How tall is that, at its peak?
Not off the top of my head. We did ask the ordinance department about and measure a few signs that were discussed, Bedford shops and this one. And of course, when you look at this one, they are approximately 2.5 feet shorter than what is
Yeah.
permitted by ordinance, so it is a
That's
smaller
what
sign than what is typical. for this
Right,
type
it's,
of
it's,
development.
yeah, it's not even 5 feet there, but it's, I don't know.
But we are talking in this case, option one, a fixed sign versus the LED, and I think that's, should be in consideration too. The shops down the road, they're able to rotate that signage and get everyone's name in. That's been a point of this board too. Some of the problems associated with the LEDs, distractive, the illumination. So I think we're giving up that, and I guess I feel comfortable with once again, with the size of that strip mall and the number of tenants to allow that height waiver in lieu of having a fixed sign versus the LED.
Do you want a motion?
I will entertain a motion.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the 4-foot height waiver and the 23.5 square foot area waiver, taking into consideration that the size of the building justifies a larger sign for visibility from the road. And also subject to all required permits shall be obtained from Bedford Township. Applicant shall continue to maintain the entire perimeter landscaped area of the base no less than 2 feet wide, growing and in a healthy condition. The sign is to be located outside the road right-of-way, and the sign is to be located outside both existing ingress and egress corner clearance areas. And my earlier objection to the ED Properties designation at the bottom, I thought that was going to disappear, the area. It's not going to disappear, so I don't have any objection to that. So they can maintain that.
Support?
Can I add a reason too, is that it's on a part of a 5-lane road where the speed is faster through Temperance?
65?
Right? We have a motion, we have support. Can you take roll?
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Stefan votes yes. Ms. Tenneberry?
Yes,
Mr. Zybeck?
No.
Mr. Garbrick?
Yes.
Mr. Fritz?
Yes.
Chairman Anger?
With much discussion, yes. Motion approved.
Thank you.
Next, we will move on to public comment. Seeing that we have no more public, we will move on to new information. Anything, Karen?
I have nothing at this time. Also, we're working on a couple of items for the next meeting, which is May 8th. We don't have anything concrete for that meeting, so we'll let you know as it becomes more concrete.
Thank you, Karen. Any commissioner or staff comment? Seeing that we have none, I will move on for a motion to adjourn. Support?
Support?
All in favor?
aye.
Meeting adjourned.